My heart's beating, but I'm dead inside. Technically, I'm still living, but there's nothing left.
Before the show started, we sat in our bullpen. We sit three across, three wide. Donnie sits on one end. I sit on the other. Pony sits in the middle so he can just hear everything both of us have to say. And Donnie, I kid you not, listeners, said, "Oh, no." And then there was a silence. And then the word Trubisky happened. And then Donnie confirmed that our buddy Jeremy Fowler was reporting Mitch Trubisky to the Steelers 2 years. People, we have a lot of fun on this show. We've got a lot of quarterback lovers that listen to this show. Andrew Filippone, not a Mitch Trubisky lover. I've never seen the man's body just go slack like it did. There was disbelief. He's a plugged-in guy. He's got sources. This blindsided him. He hasn't been the same since. That was about at what, Donnie, 12:35 or so? For an hour and 30 minutes, 90 minutes since we found out about this, the man has looked completely broken. A hollowed-out husk. His eyes are staring, but they're not looking at anything, kind of like Mitch Trubisky trying to read a defense. Look at him, Donnie. He doesn't even want to talk.
I've never seen him like this, and I got to say I'm a little bit worried.
Do you want to just do the show, Donnie? This is going to be your big crack at the big time here because we might have to cart him out of here catatonic.
This is the dawning of a dark era of Steelers football. This move, I really believe that. And it's a reminder that for as much as the last couple of years of Roethlisberger were not great, I mean, they did win the division in 2020, but they got embarrassed by the Browns in the playoffs. I don't want to go through history that people already know about, but this is, to me, the beginning of what life is like without a great quarterback. When you don't have a franchise quarterback, when you don't have a Hall of Famer, when you don't have somebody who you can count on and believe in and depend on every year, people get excited for moves like this. Like, I feel today like a guy who made millions of dollars but then got arrested for some kind of white-collar crime.
Which you would if you made millions.
And was used to private planes and caviar and yachts and all of that. And now
3 square meals a day in prison.
I'm eating ramen noodles every day, and I'm watching The Price is Right. Like, I've got no life. Like, my entire outlook on life has changed. I really believe that Mitch Trubisky has a chance to be the worst starting quarterback in Steelers history. I can't speak to the 60s, but I really think he has a chance to be the worst one. I think Kent Graham, wherever you are right now, you're on notice because this guy has a chance to beat you out and be the worst one ever. I think he's that bad.
I don't think he's as bad as Kent Graham. Big porky-assed stiff.
What is he good at? He can run.
Moving.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's fixation with movement, with mobility.
Is he worse than Mason Rudolph?
I would not be surprised.
Is he worse than Mason Rudolph?
I think he might end up being, yeah. I think
would he have beaten the Lions last year?
Probably. But I think there's a chance that multiple quarterbacks play for the Steelers in 2022, and not because Trubisky gets injured, but because he's not good enough.
My biggest complaint here, I'm gonna do devil on the shoulder, okay? And I'm gonna do angel on the shoulder.
I mean, if you want to try to convince me that this is a good move for the Steelers,
I'm not going to try to convince you.
Use it today.
I'm not going to try to convince you of something that I don't myself believe. However, I am usually the clown prince of stupidity on this show, but I am going to play it straight today because somebody needs to just try to talk you through this here through 4 hours. If I am looking at one positive, one out of this, the thing we have heard time and again about Matt Canada's offense is it requires some mobility to run it. We have heard Matt Canada and a bunch of other people not so subtly infer that Ben Roethlisberger, despite his Hall of Fame career and credentials, held them back because he was incapable of running that offense and they weren't going to tell him how to do it. They were going to let him do his thing. Mitch Trubisky, just athletically, is better than Ben was last year and is better than anybody else on the roster at that position. He should be able to do some of the conceptual things, I don't know what they are, by the way, that Matt Canada likes to do. That is the best thing I can come up with here. He is not a stiff. He's 27 years old, and he's athletic. And he basically got to sit on the shelf for a year, so he didn't get 1 year of wear and tear. However, my big problem here with this, and what has been my big problem ever since the Steelers were rumored to be interested in him, and why I vociferously protested the idea of it, is that Mitch Trubisky's stock went up when he didn't play, and everyone said Brian Daboll helped fix him, and he was going to be a much better quarterback for it, for sitting for 1 year. So his stock went up, and now people think that with Matt Canada running the show, he's going, whatever actual steps he took in Buffalo, sitting on the bench and learning, people think Matt Canada is the guy to get to the next level with him? What in Matt Canada's background, other than blind faith that Roethlisberger was holding his offense back, makes people believe that? Matt Canada's offense has worked one time to great effect, and it was at Pitt with Nate Peterman. That's it.
Who's not Jackie Joyner Kersey. He's not a speed merchant.
He was mobile enough to move around at the collegiate level.
Yeah, but at college, that offense was not predicated on a quarterback being able to move. That was not the calling card of the Matt Canada offense. The Steelers have become the franchise of Chicago Bears sloppy seconds. I mean, that's what we're doing. We are not paying, it's not a peanut deal. My guess is it's probably not as high as the money is not as high as it was reported, let's say last week, but it's also not Mason Rudolph money. They're going to pay Mitch Trubisky a decent amount. The way this has been reported is this is not a deal for him to come in here and compete. They've all but promised him that he's going to be their starting quarterback. That's why he picked the Steelers over the Giants.
Yeah, that seems like the obvious telegraphed thing here, more than anything else.
It's your job.
Yeah, it's Mitch Trubisky's job to lose.
Which
you think he will?
Well, right, but let me just make sure I have this right. Steelers fans now trust that the organization is going to get the most out of this guy when they really, I think, sabotaged any chance Mason Rudolph had to be a good quarterback. I'm not saying he would have been one, but they've done zero over the last 4 years, now going into a fifth year, to give Mason Rudolph a shot.
They didn't even have a quarterback coach for him when he was the backup.
I know. So, but now, this guy clearly needs fixed. Mitch Trubisky is not a plug-and-play upper echelon quarterback.
But they're treating him like one.
He's going to need to rehabilitate his career here. And they get the benefit of the doubt with that? Come on. The guy sucked in Chicago. You can give me their record all you want. 2018 is when the Bears make the playoffs with Trubisky as their quarterback and they win the NFC North, correct? Do I have that right? 2018 is the year.
Yes.
He had a great record, okay?
Yep. His numbers looked decent.
They had the number one defense in the NFL that year. One. They gave up the fewest points in the entire league. They had the 27th scoring offense. Their offense with him, the best they ever were. Their offense was pretty much what the Steelers' offense was last year. That's in his best season.
But, Pony, haven't you been told Matt Nagy was the one who screwed him up?
How about this? The last time Mitch Trubisky threw a touchdown pass in a game where the Bears beat a team with a winning record, 2018. He started all of 2019 and all of 2020. The only games...
He started 9 games of 2020.
Okay, 9 games because Nick Foles beat him out, right? Nick Foles beat him out, and he beat Tom Brady in that Thursday night game where Brady put up 4 fingers and thought it was still 4th down. Mm-hmm. That was Nick Foles who won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Trubisky got hot in December. They won games against Little Sisters of the Poor, the Jacksonvilles of the world. Terrible teams, the Lions. So what the Steelers are going to be with Mitch Trubisky, if he's good, if they're even able to unlock or unleash something in him, is that they will beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they will undoubtedly lose to teams that are better than them, of which they are many. So in my opinion, we are looking at a team right now that is probably going to win 6 games, 7 games, possibly 8 games next year with him. 2-year contract. How is the second year of the deal written? Are they going to have to eat dead money if they cut him after 1 year?
Nobody knows.
We don't know yet.
Nobody knows because the Steelers are more stingy with giving that information out than anyone.
So how desperate were they to bring this guy in? Hopefully we'll find out over the next few hours together.
Pony, I just want to know what they see in him. Your buddy Danny Parkins was on in Chicago. Of course, does very well out there. Very knowledgeable guy.
They're laughing at us.
What did he say to us more than anything else was Mitch's problem? Can't read a defense. So you're going to tell me if that is his biggest problem, and by the way, it's what I thought his biggest problem was, because he always looks like he's a deer in the headlights. You're going to tell me that 1 year sitting on the bench while Brian Dable and Josh Allen and those guys were balling out up there helped fix him?
Yeah.
If you can't read a defense, isn't the only way to really get better to watch film but also to play football and eventually start doing it in the game? How many passes did he throw last year? 8.
Yep.
6 of them were complete. One of them got caught by the other team.
FanDuel thinks that the Steelers got worse today. Their odds to win the Super Bowl went down from 55-1 to 70-1 with this deal.
And that reflects one thing. That also drives home a point we've already made. They know he's going to be the starter. Because when Mason, you could say, well, how does it get worse if somebody's out there saying, well, wait a minute, he's better than Mason Rudolph. He's at least an actual first-round pick, right? That's because they know he's going to start. When Rudolph, Haskins, and question mark was out there, you could at least imagine that maybe somebody else would get the job. Now that it's defined and it's Mitch Trubisky's job, they're in trouble. He's not good. We're not saying anything unfair to this guy right now. This is all true. Go back and watch the Bears film if you don't believe it.
I honestly, what you've been pining for compared to this, I would have much rather just rolled the dice with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins than spend a quarter of my available cap space on this guy. Maybe a third of their available cap space. Who knows right now? We don't.
Well, about the only thing I could say to that idea that maybe it ends up somehow working out for them is they don't have enough money to shore up other positions, and therefore they have a much better chance at being bad.
Well, speaking of which, Ben Jones just re-signed in Tennessee, a center there on a 2-year deal. So
Ryan Jensen's already back off the market.
2 of the top 5 centers have re-signed with their original teams. Donnie Football is a guy who cried at Ben Roethlisberger's final home game. He's really only known one quarterback in his life as a Steelers fan. His very early memories involve Tommy Maddox beating the Browns in heroic fashion, but for the most part, it's been all Ben all the time for Donnie. How do you feel about the next chapter of Steelers football being headlined by one Mitchell Trubisky?
I really try to stay optimistic on just about everything. So
life in general, not just Steelers football. You want to put a happy face, a happy spin.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of the Arthur Moats way of living. I like to say he is genuinely the happiest person
Glass
I've
half
ever
full.
encountered.
Yes.
Oh, glass is more than half full for Arthur. It's like 85 to 90%.
So I'm gonna at least be lukewarm to this.
Lukewarm.
What's that mean?
So you are giving a tepid endorsement, but explain what you like about Mitch Trubisky that doesn't start with, well, I'm an optimistic guy by nature.
I mean, he is better than the guys currently there, I think.
And he's better than Ben was last year, most likely.
And
I wouldn't say that.
I would, because Ben sucked last year, but that's okay.
But in Trubisky's last 2 years as a starter.
Well, he can just move. I'm basing that off of the idea that they keep saying that Ben couldn't run Matt Canada's offense, and Trubisky can at least move.
I think that's giving Canada too much credit. Trubisky's numbers from a QBR, so from the statistical formula standpoint, his numbers are nearly identical to Ben's the last 2 years.
53.8 last year, or in 2020, 41.5 the year before, and his best year he was a 71, which is actually
that's the 2018 year,
which is weirdly good.
We're 27th in scoring offense, but okay. The last two, it's kind of like a younger version of Ben.
He's just not a good quarterback. I mean, so I don't know how you could be. The thing is, too, maybe if you were bringing him into, say you thought Mitch Trubisky was wildly miscast in Chicago. If he was, say, taking over in San Francisco, where there's a pretty established way that they like to play offense, and his physical skills, durability, whatever you want to call it, makes him better than, say, Jimmy G, and he's got Kyle Shanahan, he's got Debo, and he's got that offensive line, I'd be like, all right, I still don't love this, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo's better, but you could at least squint and see why a team might be tantalized by the potential. What is there for the Steelers to offer here? Hey, Mitch, you'll be running for your life most likely unless we can patch this offensive line together. Oh, and by the way, some of the guys are already gone.
No, both sides were extremely desperate. Both sides settled and got married to people that they're really not that into because it beat the alternative of being single.
If the New York
Either
Giants
being with Mason Rudolph or being a backup quarterback somewhere. Mitch didn't want to be a number 2, and the Steelers wanted anything but Mason Rudolph.
If the Giants had already telegraphed the idea that Daniel Jones wasn't going to be their guy, Mitch Trubisky would be the Giants' starting quarterback today because he'd be going with Dable. Agree?
Oh, I think if the coach there got the GM there got their wish over the owner, yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If
gonna,
Daniel Jones was out of the picture,
they
he
weren't
going to
cut Daniel Jones, so he was going to be a factor there this year.
Yeah. So I think Trubisky, that was place number 1. He's been told by the Steelers, it's pretty obvious. You can read the tea leaves here, read between the lines. He's going to be the starter. It is the word that I'm looking for here is simply this. It is incredibly uninspiring. I tried at the start of the show, I tried to be somebody who would be there for you, my friend, and try to talk you up on this. The best I can come up with is the guy is mobile and a good athlete.